Italy, December 1943. Rain falls sideways, needled by wind. A brown river claws at broken abutments, chewing concrete into white foam. On the near bank, Shermans idle in a row, exhaust hazing the air like animal breath. On the far bank, a village with shuttered windows, the suggestion of a church spire, and the certainty of enemies watching. A German staff captain lifts his field glasses. He sees nothing but churned mud, men the color of wet earth, and piles of steel panels that look more like fencing than a bridge. He smirks. Let them try. In his doctrine, a river is a pause button. Bridges take weeks. Pauses kill momentum. Momentum kills offensives. Trucks skid to a stop. Tailgates slam. Not cranes, crates. Hands, not hoists. The crates unfold into life. Rectangular truss panels with quick-fit lugs, cross beams with painted letters, long stringers, timbered decking. Everything labeled, everything drilled. Hammers, pins, rope, rollers. The kit looks humble, like scaffolding that lost its way to a factory. A whistle. Teams fan out. A launching nose. A skeletal snout of spare trusses grows toward the water. Knuckles strike pins. Bang! 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 The sound is metronomic, as if the river itself is being timed. The first bay of panels rises, braces lock, and the nose crawls forward on greased rollers. No speeches, no drama, just rhythm. The captain laughs again and tells the battery to save ammunition. Then he looks back and frowns. In the rain, the trusses have reached the cut teeth of the blown bridge and are climbing them like a ladder. The nose tilts, touches the far parapet, and in a heartbeat the whole assembly surges across as if the river had been tricked into giving up its width. Pan! A final pin seats home. Deck planks slap down. A corporal waves, palm chopping the air. First tank. The deck groans. Trusses take the load. The river rages. The tank rolls. What the watchers do not yet know is that, on this day, they are witnessing the beginning of their own end. The monster had no turret or gun. It had holes that always matched and parts that always fit. It was born not in a shipyard, but in a civil servant's head. Donald Bailey, quiet, methodical, an engineer in the British Ministry of Supply, looked at a map of rivers and a calendar of delays and decided to flatten time into a box. The requirement was brutally simple. A bridge that infantry could carry. Sappers could build and tanks could cross without cranes, without bespoke machining, without weeks of carpentry. The enemy had discovered that retreating across a river and blowing the span behind you buys days. Days buy fuel, ammunition, and breath. Bailey's counterstroke would be speed. Not theoretical speed, measured, repeatable, indifferent to weather and nerves. He drew rectangles. The core unit was a panel, a welded steel truss roughly 10 feet by 5, with standardized lugs at each corner. 2 soldiers could lift it. 4 could walk it easily. Transoms, heavy crossbeams, keyed into the panels. Stringers ran longitudinally to take decking. Long pins, tapered and collared, replaced bolts and nuts that mud would eat. Every hole was the same size. Every face was labeled. The bridge could be a single, 1 panel per side, double single, 2 panels wide, 1 high, double, even triple single for extreme spans. Capacity rose as panels stacked. So did confidence. Early trials were ugly. Instructors inverted transoms under lamps that smoked in the drizzle. Pins jammed when soldiers drove them through unaligned lugs. A prototype launched too low, kissed the water, and tore its nose off. A bay folded like a book. In cold, bare fingers missed collars and swore. Reports were honest. Excessive camber under 30-ton load in single configuration. Recommend double single for Class 30 traffic. Pin galling observed when lugs misaligned. Emphasized training in drift use. Deck vibration at high speed. Fit timber wearing strips. Conservatives in the Royal Engineers distrusted the simplicity. Real bridges, they argued, were masonry and rivets, not something that looked like a Meccano set. The Bailey box offended their sense of weight, but problems yielded to process. Bailey standardized launching rollers bearing plates, sway braces. He specified a launching nose, a light sacrificial truss that let the bridge reach the far bank before its center of gravity crossed the gap. He wrote the grammar, Assemble bays on rollers, push, add bays as the nose advances, drop onto bearings, then remove the nose. The method turned rivers into repeatable equations. Factories stamped and welded panels by the 100,000. Paint shops stenciled letters big enough to read in rain. Training depots beat Cadence into new units. Pin, drift, drive, left to right, top to bottom. What looked like a pile of parts became a predictable machine for making roads where none remained. No one imagined that this box of rectangles, mocked as a toy, carried the seed of victory. Theory had its day. The front wanted proof. The first field use came with the worst weather and the least patience. Mud stuck to boots like judgment. The river, swollen, licked at staging bays and stole tools left a second too long. A brigade diary recorded the embarrassment in dry ink. Attempted Class 40 single over 80-foot span under artillery harassment. Launching nose insufficient. Bridge dipped. 2 bays flooded. 1 panel lost to current. Casualties, 2 sappers injured. A German propagandist snapped photos of trusses floating downstream and wrote a caption about British cardboard bridges. At HQ, a staff colonel asked pointedly why Ordnance was trusting Garden Gate ironwork with tanks. Engineers took the hit. They admitted the miscalculation. Class ratings matter, spans matter, and launch geometry is oxygen. They rebuilt under shelling, doubled the panels, double, and changed the nose length by a bay. It went up the next day. The tanks crossed anyway. The photos didn't travel as fast as the rumor. Another failure bit deep. A bailey over a culvert settled when its bearings sank into soft soil. The deck developed a hungry dip. A lorry took it too fast and broke an axle. The report, merciless. Bearing preparation inadequate. Lesson, never trust the ground because it smiles. Skeptics were momentarily right. The kit could not fix bad judgment or soft banks. The enemy's laughter crept back. Rivers, they said, still belonged to them, and yet underneath the setbacks something else was happening. Units that lived with the kit were getting faster. They aligned lugs without looking. They set rollers by feel. They read the river the way a good cook reads heat. By the time the jokes reached the front line had already moved. For a few weeks, it still felt as if the old world of exploded bridges and long pauses could reassert itself. Then the invisible turn began. The turn did not arrive with a parade. It arrived as cadence. Teams mastered the launching sequence. Pre-assemble 3 bays on rollers. Connect the nose, push until the nose tips, add bays as it advances, watch the camber, drop onto prepared bearings, remove nose, deck, and rack. The words themselves became a lullaby against fear. The act became muscle memory. A good troop could assemble a 120-foot double single in hours, a double in a long afternoon. Speed created safety. Less time in one place meant less time for enemy guns to understand the target. Engineering refinements multiplied. High tensile pins reduced mushrooming. Sway braces at precise intervals tamed lateral wriggle. Cambering, presetting an upward curve, meant that under load the deck flattened rather than sagged. The roller spacing was taught as a number, 8 feet, not as a guess. The bearing plates were widened and backed with timber to spread load into mud that pretended to be ground. Human factors were the real technology. A sergeant whose voice never rose more than a notch could set 30 men moving as if to a score. Teams kept to 2 actions per person. Carry a panel, seat a pin. Carry a transom, seat a pin, so no one became a bottleneck. Cooks brought tea where the deck touched mud. Morale is a tool. The turn became visible when commanders started planning around it. Maps with blue lines no longer meant pause. They meant Bailey here by 1600. Armored regiments learned to trust the numbers. Class 40 meant a Sherman, Class 70 meant a Churchill. If you demanded more, you stacked more panels. If you needed length, you added bays. Rivers shrank to arithmetic. Tactically, the Bailey turned the enemy's demolition doctrine into attacks that could be paid in hours. Strategically, it unlocked tempo. An army that crosses faster arrives sooner. An army that arrives sooner arrives with surprise. The kit had become a symbol of discipline disguised as simplicity, of lightness that carried weight, of steel that pretended to be time. The laughter stopped first in the headphones of German forward observers. They called in fire on staging areas that were gone by the time shells arrived. They spotted bridge work, where a bridge had already rolled forward like a creeping animal. They heard tanks where none should be yet. Sentences short because inevitability speaks that way. Night. Lamps taped to slits. Rain on helmets. Panels rise. Pins drive. Rollers squeal. Nose tips, Bay added. Nose bites. Decking slaps. Timber smells. Bridge ready. Engines throttle. Tracks clatter. River loses numbers because war demands them. A single rated class 30 for lighter vehicles. A double meeting class 40. A double climbing beyond class 60 with trussed transoms. 160 feet spans in theater without cranes. 200+ feet with careful staging. 6 to 8 sappers per panel, rotating, so fatigue did not steal fingers. Launch times measured in 2-digit minutes once the parties had trained. Civilian nerves feel it too. Villagers downstream watch a bridge appear where yesterday there was none. The sound is unnatural, hammer on steel, not rock on rock. Refugees who expected weeks of isolation see columns arrive in an afternoon. The psychological message is simple. You cannot delay them anymore. Enemy doctrine cracks. Demolition plans double their charges and fail anyway. Artillery schedules lengthen to account for a threat that outruns clocks. A German captain writes in his diary, exhausted, "We blow. They build. We blow again. They build again." Rivers are nothing to them. Another report, bitter and brief. Bailey Bridge double. Tanks at 1,700. Our guns could not keep pace. The sensory panel is relentless. Hammer strokes like a drum line. The whine of rollers. The bass of engines on steel. Water slapping piles. The metallic chorus of pin seating. A moving factory in rain. Take a breath. The tempo has shifted from can we cross to where do we cross next? The kit no longer answers a question. It prevents it from being asked. From parts in a crate, a doctrine emerges. Doctrine of modularity. Design the smallest useful unit and repeat it. Keep interfaces identical. Let strength scale by stacking, not by forging a new miracle each time. The Bailey panel is a sentence. A bridge is a paragraph. A river crossing is a story told in present tense. Doctrine of launch. Build on your side, not in the river's teeth. Use the launching nose to cheat balance and reduce exposure. Momentum is armor. Doctrine of class. Speak in numbers. Class 40. Class 70. Numbers anchor confidence. Numbers travel faster than rumor. Tank crews commit when arithmetic is trustworthy. Doctrine of labor. Replace heavy machines with many hands and few motions. 2 actions per person. Rhythm over brawn. Skill taught in days, not years. The myths fall just as neatly. Myth. A good bridge demands heavy equipment. Truth. A good bridge demands a good interface. The rest is repetition and timing. Myth. Demolition always wins. Truth. Demolition wins if the enemy is tied to uniqueness. With standard kits, you don't rebuild, you reassemble. Myth. Rivers are natural fortresses. Truth. Rivers are schedules. If you can rewrite the schedule, the fortress collapses. Voices make it real. An Italian villager, years later, remembers the sound of English hammers in the rain and the first truck of flour crossing by dusk. A German sapper recalls dread when he learned the word Bailey, the bridge that meant yesterday's crater would be tomorrow's road. A British troop sergeant shrugs, proud. We weren't brave. We were on time. The idea spreads beyond battlefields. Civil works adopt panel bridges for disaster relief. Engineers who learned on Baileys carry the gospel of standard parts and fast assembly into post-war factories. The philosophy is contagious. When the world breaks, don't reach for elegance. Reach for interfaces that fit under pressure. This is the manual that matters. Speed is mercy. Mercy for your own side, stranded by a river and a calendar. Mercy for civilians who need roads more than glory. Return to the rain and the captain with the field glasses. He believed the river would keep its promise of delay. He believed weight beats rhythm, that masonry beats muscle memory. He laughed when he saw the boxes. He isn't laughing now. He writes coordinates that artillery cannot serve in time. He hears the hammers but cannot stop the song. When tanks cross steel, you assembled in hours, your doctrine ages a year in a minute. Echo the opening, inverted. They laughed when they saw a bridge in a box. They stopped laughing when the box unfolded into a road. Night drains away. The new bridge wears the tracks of a battalion by noon. The river still rages, indifferent. The bridge does not care. Sappers coil ropes, count pins back into crates stained with rain, and move. Their work leaves almost nothing behind. Just bearings, a few scuffed stones, and a fact. You cannot hold us with water. The sound that remains is not a fanfare. It is percussion, pins driven home, boots on deck, track on timber. It is the sound of an idea beating time, and that is the last lesson. The Bailey was not a miracle of strength. It was a miracle of availability. Strength came from stacking. Courage came from cadence. Victory came from making the exceptional routine. They laughed when they saw it the first time. They stopped laughing when they heard the drumline of pins mixing with the thunder of engines, when the river's roar harmonized with a road's new song. The thunder spoke, not from 8-inch guns, but from hammers on collars and the sky of certainty. The old belief that rivers could pause armies never quite belonged to them again. But the day does not end there. The captain lowers his glasses and feels something colder than rain run under his collar. The arithmetic has changed. He radios a counterattack that arrives 12 minutes too late. By then, the far bank is already a geometry of security. Pickets out, mine tapes down, a traffic corporal in a tin hat directing half-tracks as if he's running a village crossroads. What was once a front is now a junction. On the bridge, the rhythm continues like a heart. Every fourth vehicle is a pause for inspection. Every eighth, a chock against the deck to keep the planks honest. The trusses hum as track shoes pass seam after seam. The nose that cheated gravity lies disassembled on the verge, already becoming weight for the next river. A sapper who hasn't slept in 20 hours closes one eye against the spray and counts. Pins back in the crate, 48. Spare collars, 8. Drifts, 3. Nothing missing but time. Civilians watch from doorways. They had memorized the shape of ruins and the calendar of hunger. Now they memorize something else. An army that unties knots. A woman presses a loaf into a driver's hands. He does not stop, but he nods, and she understands that nod better than speeches. A boy listens to the bridge sing under steel and learns a new definition for bravery, precision at speed. Downstream, a German demolition party receives orders to fell the next span. They oblige, charges placed, fuses cut, stone torn like bread. They wait to hear despair from the opposite bank. Instead, they hear hammers. The sound carries over water the way rumor carries through fear. The sergeant closes his eyes. He has learned the taste of inevitability. At dusk, when the last tank clears and the road is only trucks and ambulances, the engineers do the quiet work that keeps legends alive. They walk the deck with wrenches and mallets, listening for false notes, loose nuts, shy pins, timbers beginning to chatter. They chalk a brace, replace a plank, sweep the mud that makes skids treacherous. Their heroics are maintenance. Their victory is that nothing dramatic happens. Command takes notice. A staff map that used to wear a blue crease marked delay now has a penciled stamp. Bailey by 1600. The mark is small, nearly invisible, yet it moves divisions as surely as trumpet calls moved cavalry. A corps commander looks at the symbol and sleeps an extra hour that night. He knows that impossible on the far bank has shrunk to early afternoon. And what of the men who scoffed? Some will never admit the change. The mind protects its old fortresses, but most learn. Even pride, if it is honest, bows to rhythm. In after-action notes that will one day be bound in drab covers, the captain writes, "Enemy employed portable truss bridge of great rapidity. Advise increased emphasis on counter-battery and pre-registered crossings. Rivers no longer substantial obstacles. The sentence is short because it hurts. The bridge itself becomes a rumor with a name. Villages whisper Bailey, the way sailors whisper the names of winds. It is a type, a promise, a solution wrapped in paint. At night, the silhouette of its truss looks like a heartbeat drawn in steel against a low sky. In daylight, it looks like a ladder laid flat across a river, inviting an army to climb. Later, Months or years, the same panels will appear in places without uniforms. Floods will tear a road from a countryside. Trucks will halt. A mayor will wring his hands. A dusty depot will open a door and roll out rectangles that smell of old oil and rain. The bridge will return as if it never left, because good ideas refuse to die when peace forgets why they were born. From the engineer's view, the poetry hides in numbers. Class 40, double single, nose length by 3 bays, rollers at 8 feet. These are not decorations. They are spells. Speak them correctly and the river obeys. Speak them out of order and the river takes its due. The genius was not in inventing new components. It was in the discipline of letting simple parts do complex work, again and again and again, until the extraordinary felt domestic. And the enemy? He adapts in the only way he can, by burning more time. More charges, more range tables, more reserve guns. But time is the one resource he cannot conjure. The army with the kit harvests it in crates. Each panel is a coin of time. Each pin, a proof that time can be minted. If you need a final image, keep this. The bridge at midnight, headlights diffused by rain, a sentry's cape shining black as slate. The river moves with ancient power. The trusses answer with modern patience, water and steel, rhythm and mass. In the distance, a locomotive calls, and for a heartbeat, the bridge sings back in the same key. A universe of moving parts holds its breath, and then exhales into forward motion. So let the closing line carry more than a boast. Let it carry a rule for all hard things. When the world blows out your roads, build sentences that connect. Keep the grammar simple. Keep the cadence steady. Keep moving. They laughed when they saw a bridge in a box. They stopped laughing when a road unfolded from steel and hands, and the pause they worshipped failed to arrive. The thunder that settles over the valley is not the grandstanding thunder of guns. It is the measured thunder of made time, hammers on collars, tracks on plank, the quiet clack of pins stored for the next crossing. And the sky of certainty, the old belief that rivers could pause armies, never quite belongs to them again.